Okay, so welcome back, guys. What we're going to be doing in this particular video is reassembling our LCD digitizer assembly. All right, so we're going to just basically step our way back through the reassembly. Okay, so the first thing we want to do, which was the last thing we did, is we want to put in our EMF shield. So we're going to go ahead and put that in. Remember to line it up properly. You just set that right on the back, just like so. We're going to put that right in there. It fits right in, and we want to line our screws or our holes up, okay? And it should sit snug right in there perfectly, all right? And once you get it lined up, then you're just going to put in those 6 screws that you removed, okay? So let's go ahead and put in our 6 screws that we removed. Okay, so the next thing we want to do, now that we have our 6 screws back in holding in our EMF shield, the next thing we want to do is go ahead and put our ribbon cable, our front-facing camera ribbon cable back in. So we want to be very careful when doing this. So the first thing we want to do in doing this, guys, is we want to take this little microphone, okay, and just kind of fold this microphone straight out, because what we want to do is we want to make sure this microphone sits in properly where it's supposed to be. So the way you want to insert this microphone is you want to make sure you take the microphone and plug it in this little hole right here. And you guys can see it right under the front-facing camera. There's a little hole right there. So you want that microphone to just go right in there. So we're going to go ahead and plug it right in. Once we get it lined up, we just push it right in, okay? Now, what that does is that helps us line up our ribbon cable, okay? Now that our ribbon cable is lined up, what we can do is just go ahead and fold the front-facing camera right over so it fits right in place. And then what we can do next is go ahead and line up our contacts for our earpiece speaker right here at the top right. So we'll go ahead and line those up. Get those back in the proper place. Make sure they're in good before you actually push them all the way down. And you'll notice your sensor right here on the front has a little it's almost like a square, okay? So you want to tuck that in also. Make sure that's in. And make sure everything is flush and in properly, okay? All right, once you get that seated, it'll pop right in. You guys probably heard it pop. So it pops right in and is seated properly, okay? All right, so once we get that in, the next thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and start to put our microphone or our earpiece speaker, back in its place to hold this in. So what you can do is go ahead and set that down, okay, so that you can line it up properly, okay? So we're going to go ahead, and we have 2 screws. And you got to be careful with the earpiece speaker because your screws will stick. It is magnetized, so it will stick to your earpiece speaker. Now, what you'll notice here, again, are the coils. Okay, so your coils are located right here. Your contact coils are located right here on your earpiece speaker. So you're going to make sure you line those up properly. And one thing you guys will also notice is right here on your earpiece speaker, you have this little hole, all right, where the sound actually comes through your earpiece speaker right here, this little hole. And then right here, you'll notice on your board, there's another little hole where you're actually going to put this hole in this hole and then line up your contacts with the coils, okay? So you want to line those up as straight as you can possibly get them. So what I like to do is I'll put this part of it on first. So we just go ahead and set it in and try to line it up as best we can. You just kind of sit it right on top. You can kind of use your screw holes as a guide to where you need to be. All right, so you get that kind of sitting where it needs to be. And then you're going to take your shield and place that right atop. It's going to help hold in your camera and hold your shield in place. All right. So once you get that in place, you can just kind of hold it with your finger. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take your screw, and you have your long screw. And you're going to insert your long screw. All right. And then you're going to take your next screw. Your second screw. You're going to put your second screw right in. And there you have it. You have your earpiece speaker lined up and right back in. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is go ahead and put our home button back in. All right, so remember we took off the front part of our home button, so we're going to go ahead and place that back on the front here. All right, actually it goes underneath, and you want to make sure that it is the right way. So you're just going to set that right in there, turn it over to make sure it's the right direction. All right, and then once you get it lined up properly, you can go ahead and set it back down. All right. Okay, and then what you're going to do is take your actual button, and you guys can actually push on that to test it, and you can hear it. You can hear it click. You can feel it click to know that it's working properly. And then if you look at the contacts here, the contacts have a little adhesive on it right here. You can actually, if you look at it closely, you can actually see where the adhesive was removed. But again, you're going to be able to use your holes and kind of line up where everything should go. Once you get it lined up, then you can go ahead and kind of rub your adhesive back in its spot. Okay. And then once you get that placed, you can go ahead and take your Phillips screwdriver, and you can insert your Phillips screws. And guys, with these screws, you want to be very careful because these screws are very small and they are not very deep. They're very shallow. And what that means is if you turn, they're easily stripped, very easily stripped. So you got to put a little pressure on them to make sure you're not turning and stripping, but you don't want to tighten them too tight. Never need to over tighten on these. All right. So we have that back on. So basically what we've done is we put everything back on our LCD digitizer assembly like it was originally. Okay. Okay, so we have our home button and we test it. You can test it. You guys can hear it clicking. All right, and then you just want to make sure that your earpiece speaker is lined up properly. You want to make sure that all your ribbon cables are in good condition, in good shape. And you just want to make sure all your screws for your EMF shield are in, okay? And there you have it. You've just replaced a new digitizer on this. The only thing left to do would be to connect your 3 ribbon cables. Okay, so you have your 3 ribbon cables up here in the top right. So you're going to connect. All right, so we can go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and connect. Let's get a little closer so you guys can see. Get a little closer so you guys can see what's going on. So what we would do is we're going to pull these 2 ribbon cables back. All right, and then what we do is connect the 3rd one. Okay. And guys, these they're very easy to put in. You'll hear it pop. What you don't want to do is push, but once you get them lined up, they pop in pretty easily, and you can actually probably hear them actually pop in as I pop them in. All right. Get this last one lined up properly. Let's see. And guys, anytime you're plugging in cables to the board or unplugging cables to the board, you want to always use something plastic. Never use anything metal. All right. So now that we have all of those in, the next thing we do is we go ahead and take our EMI shield. I'm going to place that back. Again, using our holes to line it up. Kind of put that in place. Once we get that lined up, just going to kind of hold it with our off finger. Okay, back and get that lined up again once we get our screw on. So guys, you always want to make sure your screws are on properly. All right, because what happens is you go to put them in and you lose them or you drop them. So it's, you know, it's okay to kind of take your time and put these screws in correctly. Or so we got a second screw. We're just going to put that one in. And last but not least, our third screw. Put our EMI shield in, which also helps keep our ribbons from coming loose. All right, so now we have that back in, everything's back in. All right, and the next thing we're going to do is just go ahead and close this up. So what you want to make sure you do first is you want to make sure you line the top up right there. So you just go ahead and make sure the top is in properly. All right, so we get that lined up. Once we get that lined up, then we can line up everything else. And we get it all in place. Once we get it all in place, then we can go ahead and just begin to snap everything back in its proper place. You want to be careful not to push on the digitizer too much, as you don't want to cause any damage to the LCD. All right. All right. And then once you get that back in, obviously you're going to have your cover for your customer to take off. So you leave your sticker on, and then you just go ahead and you power your phone back on, and there you have it. All right. A digitizer replacement on an iPhone 5. Okay. So what we're going to be doing in the next video is we're going to be doing a full disassembly, showing you guys how to fully disassemble an iPhone 5, an Apple iPhone 5. All right. I'll see you guys in the next video.